Now, let's talk about layers. Beginners of Photoshop often have a problem with the concept of layers and how they can be made to interact with one another. They can be partially hidden using layer masks. They can be blended together in several different ways as well. They can be reordered, renamed, linked, grouped, clipped, duplicated, and flattened. So what are layers? Layers are simply stacks of images, objects, or texts. Layers are very powerful because they allow us to edit and move individual image components without affecting other elements within the scene. Now let's create a new document here for me to show and demonstrate what layer looks like in Adobe Photoshop. So I'll be creating 5 different layers here. The first and the default layer is what we call the background layer. Next, I'm going to choose the rectangle tool and change its color into something like blue color. There you go. Next, I will now create another color, which is an ellipse tool or a circle, and drag it somewhere there. You can change the color of the circle by clicking on the fill in the options bar and something like that. Now, I can also add another layer by simply adding a text layer. Click on this icon here and type layers. If you were able, or if you were not able to see the word that you have typed, just simply select everything and change the color from here. There you go. And lastly, we would like to drag an image directly to the workspace. I can just simply go ahead and drag an image here, and there you go. So you have noticed we have 5 different layers. We have the image, we have the layers, the ellipse, and the rectangle. Now, we can actually align and move the layers. To move the contents of the layers, first is for you to select the move tool. Click this icon here. You must then highlight the layer you wish to move by clicking on it in the layers panel. Say for example, I would like to move this image, the food image. I would just simply click on this layer and move that. Multiple layers can be selected by choosing a layer and then holding down the shift key and clicking on a different layer. See for example, you would like to move 3 different layers. All you have to do is to click on shift while clicking the following layers you would like to move. Now maybe you are wondering why you weren't able to see the other layers. That simply means that this layer here is on top of any other layers. You can go ahead and move this below everything for you to see the other layers. So let's go ahead and highlight and select 3 different layers, the layers, ellipse, and rectangle. With several layers highlighted, multiple layers can be moved simultaneously. However, they will maintain their relative positions to one another. If you wish to change the position of the layers so that they are aligned with one another, you can use the alignment tool that are present in the options bar. You have here align top edges, vertical centers, and many more. Layer interactions. Now, the manner in which the individual layers in a document may interact with each other is editable in a number of ways. The most basic interaction is what we call opacity. By the default, opacity of a layer is 100%, but this can be adjusted by moving the slider that appears when you click on the right pointing arrow at the side of the opacity value. First, let's go ahead and click on the ellipse tool. Here, ellipse layer, and click on the move tool for you to move the ellipse anywhere else in the document. The opacity can now be found here. You can go ahead and change the opacity based on how you're going to use it. You can just position your cursor over the word opacity, just like what I'm doing here, and drag to the left to reduce the value and right to increase it. Now, when we reduce the opacity, you will notice that it will allow any layers that may be below the altered layer to be partially visible. Let's try applying an opacity in the rectangle. There you go. Next is what we call blend modes. Blend modes can also interact with one another by using the blend modes. They allow one layer to affect underlying layers in a number of different ways. Now, we will be taking a look at the blend modes in more detail in the following chapters. However, to help you understand in broad terms what their function is, similar modes are grouped together. You can go ahead and look for the blend modes by simply clicking on a layer here and clicking this icon. So first is what we call the normal modes. We have the darkening modes. We have the lightening modes, the contrast modes, inversion modes, and the component modes. Now let's try to click on the normal mode and let's try to take a look at the different blend modes available in Photoshop. So we have dissolve, darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn, darker color, lighten, screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light, linear light, pin light, hard mix, difference, exclusion, subtract, divide, hue, saturation, color, luminosity. So those are the different blend modes in Adobe Photoshop. For now, let's leave that as normal. Next, we can actually name the colors. It can be very easy to lose track of which layer is which if you have a many layer document. Now, it is a good idea to get into the habit of naming your layers as you create them. To rename a layer, simply double-click on the name of the layer in the Layers panel and type in the new name. Say for example, you would like to name or change the name of here. You can go ahead and double-click that one and change that into foo and hit enter. Adding text to an image is very simple. As I have done earlier, all you have to do is to select the type tool and just simply click anywhere and type something else. So you can select all and change the font here in the option panel. You can also change the size of the text from the option panel. We can also use other shape layers like the rounded rectangle and the polygon tool. You can change its color. You can add some more strokes.